Hi everyone, Bess McCarty, Victoria, Kansas here, bringing you today a little message from John Maxwell, a report from his book, The Failing Forward by John Maxwell. Okay, the message today is get over yourself. Everyone else has. Kind of a funny message, but it's about not focusing so much on ourselves or thinking that everybody, we might think, well, how am I doing? Am I passing the grade? Am I good enough? Am I good? Am I accepted? When we're speaking, when we're out prospecting or talking to anybody or just in life, how am I doing? When the rest of the world is focusing on other things, maybe they're wondering the same thing about themselves, but they give us so much less attention than we give ourselves. It's really funny. It's kind of a joke on us to be so self-absorbed and so worried about ourselves. And of course, success can happen this way. Success happens when we focus on the other person, how to be of service, what they need, what maybe I can do for them. Maybe I can just listen to them, or maybe I can serve them in some way, or maybe I can refer them to somebody. So it's not being present with them. I did Simon Chan did an interview with me not long ago, and people liked the title. It was called Fear is Selfish. Thinking about ourselves is selfish. Because when I'm thinking about me, how can I ever help the next person? How can I ever serve them if the attention's all on me? And so a lot of times our fears are unfounded because people are not that focused on us. John Maxwell tells a little story in here about Patrick Sheen Duncan, who wrote Mr. Holland's Opus, a movie celebrating teachers. And Mr. Holland, played by Richard Dreyfuss, wanted to be, in his 20s, he was a musician, he wanted to become a composer. But meanwhile, his had a family, things got tight, he needed to take a job as a teacher, teaching music. And for 20 years, he taught music. And he found that he made a difference in people's lives, and he also found himself. But at the end of that time, they cut the budget, his position was terminated, and he looked and he said, wow, it's too late now for me to go to New York and make it big as a composer, and present his symphony that he'd been writing for 20 years. He goes, I failed. And he was dejected until he walked past an auditorium on his way out of the school for the last time, depressed and dejected and everything, and feeling like he was a failure. He walks out of the school, past the auditorium, and he hears people in there, and they're gathered in there are all the students whose lives he really impacted over that 20-year time, including the governor of the state and other people. And then he realized that he really did make a difference, that any ordinary person can impact the lives of others. Many people are struggling with failure are often people who are so busy focused on themselves, including protecting our turf. But there's a story that John Maxwell's father told him at an NFL football game. And he said, hey, John, did you hear about the guy who quit going to football games? Every time the players got into a huddle, they thought they were talking about him. So I teach a process called Real Conversations. It says whenever you have an obstacle, find out what you're needing underneath that. For example, and John mentions the same thing in here. He said, for example, if we feel insecure, inferior, inadequate, or insignificant, what we are needing, our inner need, is belonging, worth, competence, and purpose. As an inner child therapist and a body-mind therapist for over 30 years, I know that we sometimes mistakenly identify our worth with our actions. For example, when a child makes a mistake, they're told, you're bad. It's not true. The child's value and worth needs to remain intact. That child is a valuable and lovable and worthwhile person, even though his actions may not be. Actions can change, behaviors can change. That child made a mistake. That child is not a mistake. I can make a failure. I am not a failure. See the difference? I had a failure versus I am a failure.